Good morning and welcome to Build Integrated Solutions with PowerApps and Flow. My name is Kathy Dew and I'm a Senior Product Marketing Manager at Microsoft responsible for PowerApps and Flow. On the screen you'll see my contact information and you'll have this as part of the presentation. I'm always happy to answer questions about PowerApps and Microsoft Flow as you start playing around with them, directing you to other resources and helping you to learn further. So let's jump right in and start talking a little bit about what are PowerApps and Microsoft Flow. As we started looking at what people develop, what people need in the workplace, what we found was that in the business, line of business applications, things that people need to do their jobs, that only a handful of these business applications were being built by IT based off the cost of traditional software development. But what we found was that there was also so many only off-the-shelf solutions that could be added to this custom software development component to fill those app needs, those things that we need to get our jobs done. A lot of times we're being left out and not being created. So that was this whole idea of all of these other little gray squares, those needs that people were asking for that simply weren't being developed because of time, cost, or solution complexity. They just didn't fit the need of what corporate IT was willing to develop for you. And that's where Microsoft Flow and Power Apps really come into play. We have the ability to build those line of business applications and workflow automated business solutions to fit those needs, to fill in those gaps of what was developed, what is developed, and what you need to do your jobs. So you'll see on the screen now those blocks being filled in with call solutions, quality assurance, manufacturing, all different types of solutions that are being built with Power Apps and Microsoft Flow today. As we look at this, one of our key goals with Microsoft Flow and Power Apps is to give people the ability to innovate faster, to be able to build these solutions on your own without the reliance on IT, to be able to measure, act, and automate quickly, combine things together, and write these different components in an easy to follow, easy to do manner. So in looking at what we call our business application platform at Microsoft, what you'll see, the layer that we're focusing on today is focused on power users, Power BI, Power Apps, and Microsoft Flow. This enables us to build modern business applications fast. So writing those line of business applications quickly without writing code, enabling developers to extend these as needed, and then connecting further with items like the Common Data Service to bring data from multiple systems and services together into one place so that we have one common data model that our apps and platforms can use. So in this, we're going to focus truly on Power Apps and Microsoft Flow, so that kind of power user line of business focus of the business application platform. So let's talk a little bit about Microsoft Flow to start with. As we think about Microsoft Flow, this is our ability to automate scenarios quickly, those line of business scenarios, and to be able to go in and build these solutions without writing code in a quick and visual manner. And so you can see in some of the solution example components here on the screen, we could do things like integrate SharePoint or Dynamics, email, people, Twitter, all different types of scenarios, multiple services together with one component. We also have the ability to use lots of different systems with connections that are already pre-built for you. And you can see on the screen here just a small sample of some of the connections that are available today for Microsoft Flow. You can see these include things like Box and MailChimp and Twitter, all different kinds of things, as well as the Microsoft suite, so Excel and SharePoint, and having these built right in so that I can go in and start from today and build with these kind of components there. New services are being added to this list every week. These are created by not just by Microsoft, but by you, by the companies that you see on the screen. So being able to integrate and build solutions with all of these very quickly and be able to see them grow in a daily, weekly manner. So part of Microsoft Flow also gives us the ability to use a large number of templates. And at Microsoft, we truly love to be able to provide you with a number of templates that are helpful for you to get started. So you don't have to know what you want to do to start out with. You have to have an idea, and then we can help step you through it, by whether these be templates that were built by Microsoft. You can also have templates that are built and submitted by the community, and you'll see a number of those in there based off how the number of who it was created by. That information is included. Again, templates get added all of the time. These are templates that are available to everyone. There's also the ability to create organizational specific templates. So templates that can be used just within your company. So if you have that one particular workflow or business automation process that needs to happen repeatedly, you can build that out, template it, and allow people within your organization to reuse that automation template that you've put together. So one of the things that I find truly powerful in talking to people about both Microsoft Flow and PowerApps is giving them some real-world examples for how people are using these. And I tend to think that that truly helps you to understand a bit more about why would we use it, who uses it, and who is it targeted to. So on the screen, you'll see 3 different kind of sample scenarios that we have seen customers using in their subscriptions already. So the first one is notifications. So looking at this one, being able to get a notification for things like in a new Yammer thread is brought up, and I want to be notified when something goes from Yammer to being an opportunity created in Dynamics. So I can then have notifications set up that look at a single operation or system, or with multiple systems. So this could come from both of them. So then the next, kind of looking at approvals. We all have used, or the majority of us have used, document approvals within SharePoint. This is something that is now happening using Microsoft Flow as the back-end component of it. But we could use approvals across multiple systems as well, and you can create those using Microsoft Flow. And then kind of this last scenario is collecting information. So being able to take something that's being used in Salesforce and create it into Dynamics or another system, to be able to take something. One of the most common ones I see is people using it from a sales perspective to see when somebody's mentioning something on Twitter. And are you mentioning the company or mentioning a specific hashtag on Twitter, and being able to save that information either into a SharePoint list or library or into Dynamics. So there's lots of different ways that I can use Microsoft Flow to create, to look, to find information, and to share it across multiple systems. So as we continue to look at Microsoft Flow, it's helpful to know kind of what makes up a flow. We're talking about these, but how are they actually created? What does it look like? How do I create this? So what you see on the screen is a notification flow. This is using one of our pre-designed templates. This one is looking for something to happen in Dynamics and then to send an email from there. And so you can see flows are made up of a trigger. What is that event that is going to start it? So in this case, it's a record being created in Dynamics. And then what is the action? So when that trigger happens, what do I want to have take place? And so in this case, it's sending an email. So with Flow, we're always thinking about what are we listening for? What are we looking for? What is that event that we're wanting to start from? And then what is the action or series of actions we want to have take place from that? So as we kind of continue along this, we think about those triggers. So the triggers can be manually based. They could, so that meaning push a button, hit start, trigger this in some way, it could run on a schedule. So say I want this to happen daily or weekly or every other Friday. It could run based on an event that happens in the cloud. So like I said, listening for a tweet to occur, listening for something to be added into a SharePoint list or a library or into Dynamics. And so you can see some of these different triggers in the box that's on their screen there. There's a lot of triggers that are built in out of the box. Again, new triggers get added on a weekly basis. So you'll see a lot of different things in there. One of the things we've tried to do with this kind of intuitive system of building these is we give you some samples at the top in those services of where we think you may be looking for that trigger to occur. Are you looking for it to happen in SharePoint? Are you looking for it to happen from Outlook, from Twitter? And that would then help you to kind of just delineate and differentiate which action you really are looking for. And you can also use our search box that appears at the top of each of these to narrow down your choices, because there are a lot of choices in there and sometimes it does get a bit overwhelming. But with the different ability to narrow down, to use templates, it certainly helps to allow people to go in and use this that have not had that familiarity before. The same with actions. Once we decide what we want our trigger to be, now we're looking for our action. Our action is, what do we want to have happen? Do I want to send an email? Do I want to get a notification? Do I want to create an item in SharePoint? What am I looking to do? And so in looking at this, actions can come from a number of different places. So we could have it connect to a cloud service to say, send an email through Office 365 Outlook, to add something to a SharePoint list. You could use it to use data from my action to trigger another event. I could connect to something that's not one of these services or actions with an HTTP endpoint. So say you have a proprietary system that you use within your organization, you could add that into this action list with a little bit of developer experience to help with those HTTP endpoints if we don't already have support for it. And remember, Microsoft has hundreds of different services and connections that we have available for you now. So you can start to do that. Again, the window for choosing your action is very familiar to the same as triggers. Search, we give you suggestions, and then there's a full listing of actions below that. So kind of giving you an explanation of some of these templates that you could use. So this is a screen for the Save My Email Attachments to a SharePoint Document Library template. And so you can see some of the different information around this. So when I go and explore this template to see if it's what I want to use, I get an explanation, I get a description of it, I get shown the services that are being utilized, I get the information, do I want to use this? And then one of the things we found is that people often within an organization, they're looking for a template that they want to use, but they stumble across a template that maybe one of their coworkers could use. And so we added in the ability to share templates either through social media or email with the buttons below the Use This Template, where you could quickly be able to send this template to a coworker via an email and say, hey, as I was exploring Microsoft Flow templates, I found this one that I think may be useful for you in this process we were talking about. So we've kind of added that into this template page so that it makes it truly easy for not just you to explore, but for you to share this information as you're learning about it with your coworkers. So if I wanted to build from scratch, I could go through and build this flow with this visual designer. So one of the things that we've done with this is make sure that it's all very visual. It's all very easy to follow along. So you can see with this one, we want to send an email when a new file is added to Dropbox. This is a scenario that we actually see happening quite often within organizations, a lot of times around marketing departments who are maybe working with outside ad agencies. Marketing files tend to be very large when they come to designs and things like that. So a lot of people utilize Dropbox for that. It's a exterior service that we can set up, but I don't want to have to remember to go check that when my agency adds a file to it. So setting up a Microsoft Flow where I configure that to go out to Dropbox, you can see I even choose what folder within my Dropbox subscription that I want it to watch for. So I want to look and see whenever a new file is added to my PowerApps folder in Dropbox. You can see in that Dropbox scenario as well, it tells me whose login I'm using. So for this particular one, I'm using John Sharp's connection to Dropbox. And so I'm watching for that new file to be added into Dropbox. And then from there, with the action below it, I have my action. What do I want to have take place? I want to send an email. And so you can see I'm utilizing components from that Dropbox connection to show me the new file, and pulling that file name has been added to Dropbox. And then you can see I'm adding a body, who I'm sending it to, all of this different information by configuring my action. What do I want to have happen? And it's all very visual. We have help tips. As you start typing in these different areas, you'll see suggestions popping up to the side, giving us easy ways to build these automations in a very visual manner. Again, all without having to write a single line of code. Now I have a business process automation where I'm looking at Dropbox and sending email when new files are added. Also, as we go through with this, one of the things that we found was great. We've given you the ability to build these highly complex or very simple business process automations, but how do I, the user, the power user who is not a developer or not an IT pro, fix it when there's something wrong, if it's not working? So what we've done is add in a visual representation of a debug. So as you go through and build these out and you go to save them, where you have no problems, you'll get a little green checkbox. If there's a potential issue, you can see the little blue circle with the question mark. And that simply is a visual indication to me that somewhere within that condition is where the problem is. And then I can go through and find the area that doesn't have the green checkbox and resolve what that problem is. Now, if I am unable to do that on my own, I am able to pass this off to IT, who can then come in and see even more information about it by being able to see the detailed inputs and outputs for each step within this visual debug. So it gives us multiple ways of being able to correct our Microsoft flows if we have any issues with them. So again, I want to share a few ways that Microsoft Flow has been embedded into different scenarios, and you may not even realize that you've already started using it. So with Microsoft Flow, one of the first areas of deep integration that we have had is with SharePoint. So building things in SharePoint and being able to use SharePoint and Microsoft Flow for things like approvals, right from SharePoint libraries and lists. In that quick action toolbar, you'll see use Microsoft Flow. In here, this is showing you a little bit about how we've used Flow to send an email around this, and an email that's being sent out. So you can see the email in the bottom right corner that's being sent out with an approve and reject button included into that email. So we're embedding Microsoft Flow directly into SharePoint so that it's easy to use, and a lot of people don't even realize they may already be using it. But it's going to be something that you could build straight from there, straight from your action bar, be able to utilize and continue to expand what you're doing in your SharePoint sites right with Microsoft Flow. So another example that I love to use, because this is one that came to us from some of our favorite MVPs, is that at Ignite last year, we had a few MVPs create this solution to monitor Twitter, and they actually used Microsoft Flow to take Twitter information and save it to a location that could then be displayed into a Power BI template. And so you can see this here on the screen. It's from tyGraph. And so they went out and they looked for a particular tweet using that Microsoft Ignite hashtag. They used Flow to insert that into SQL, which then allowed them to power their Power BI dashboard. So this is just one example of how Microsoft Flow has been used in real-world scenarios already. And this is something that if you go to any of the big conferences, you'll see Microsoft has teamed up with tyGraph, and we show this at almost every conference now because it's just such a neat solution scenario of how to combine multiple Microsoft products together to create a real-world availability of how we would use them. So again, like I said, one of the things that we've really been focused on is making it easy for people to use these services, and Microsoft Flow and SharePoint is one of our first embedded solution scenarios. So in this SharePoint list that you can see, this is one of our modern list experiences, and you can see right from there add a flow and being able to create that flow or run that flow straight from the list and not even having to leave my SharePoint experience to work with Microsoft Flow. Another way that you can do this is you can also embed Microsoft Flow into other applications. So you could have it in a Power App. You can have it into things like Teams or other places. One of the things that I've seen people do, which was a really cool thing, was to take a Microsoft Flow and embed it into Wunderlist. So I've seen Microsoft Flow being used in multiple scenarios. You can use it very simply straight into SharePoint. You could use Microsoft Flow in PowerApps. You could even use Microsoft Flow in custom applications that are being developed by your corporate IT solutions. So let's switch track a little bit and talk a little bit about PowerApps. This is the other side of the equation, and PowerApps is our mobile-first line of business application solution. And PowerApps is what is replacing InfoPath. It's not a one-to-one replacement. It is a successor, not a replacement. So PowerApps you will see starting to come into play a lot more within SharePoint and in other locations as well. But one of the things that we truly did find about building business apps was that it really is hard to make everyone happy. As the business app owner, I want it to be built quickly. I want it to be fast. I want to be able to have it work on anything. I want it to be beautiful. I want it to be easy, versus IT, who likes to make sure that it's secure and managed and compliant across everything. And PowerApps truly combines these two versus scenarios together. It gives us something that IT is safe and comfortable with because it's a part of Office 365. It has those management capabilities, those compliance capabilities there, and because it allows us to create line of business applications without having to write a single line of code, it allows us to have this fast, iterative, cross-platform application that's built at a speed that is just unmatched by traditional software development. So PowerApps is a SaaS solution for creating business applications across platforms. So as we look at what PowerApps can do and how we can use it, we kind of lump it into three different categories across this to give you some idea of what some of those components are. So the first one is connecting to our common data service or existing systems and data sources. So with this means you can build a Power App directly from SharePoint. You could build it using Dynamics data. You could build it using data from multiple systems that you could bring into the common data service. So one of the things that we talk about with our common data service is that I could pull in Dynamics data, Salesforce data, things like Adobe Marketing Cloud data into a single data system and platform that I can connect to and build apps off of all of that data using one location. So it starts to give us that real power of creating things with multiple systems. But I can build this straight from SharePoint as I need. And then looking across this, so building apps and forms without writing code. I don't want to write a single semicolon to be able to build this app. And with PowerApps, I don't have to. Whether that's creating a form, as you'll see coming into the SharePoint experience in the near future, things like being able to edit forms and list forms and things like that, building apps. So building these truly simple or complex apps without writing code. And then the ability to publish and share instantly across devices and mobile is truly, excuse me, the power of PowerApps. And being able to do that without the need of IT control and permission. So I can build an app and share it across my organization, just like I can share a document from Office 365 or SharePoint with people. I can publish and share the apps that I build with my team, with the people that need to use them straight from an easy-to-use interface. Again, PowerApps, just like Microsoft Flow, connects to those services you're already using. Number of connectors being added. I think my screen says 90 plus, but we're actually well over the hundreds. I just got tired of implementing my screen every week because truly new connections are added every week to this, and you're able to connect to different things and different services on a weekly basis. So go out and explore the list of connectors that are available right now. So kind of in building apps without writing code, there are two ways that you can do this. We have a free PowerApps Studio application. We have a version of it that's available for Windows computers through the Windows Store. It's free, so you can go out and download PowerApps Studio today and have it installed on your computer. Or if you don't have a Windows computer or you need a version that you can work with, we have a web version as well. So you can do this within the web and you don't have to download any software to your computer to work on this. So what you're seeing on the screen is the build component of building a Power App within our PowerApps Studio. So you can see it's a very familiar experience. I joke with people that it's kind of a combination of working in Excel and PowerPoint. It's a very familiar experience. I have that visual designer down the left where I see the different screens of my app, much like I would see PowerPoint slides. I have the kind of information along the right-hand side, kind of like I'm working with data and pulling that in together. What am I building? What am I connecting to? And then I have my ribbon across the top, just like all of my Office applications that give me things like design and action and insert. With the insert, one of the great things with this is that I can take advantage of device capabilities. Now, when I say device capabilities, I mean that since I'm designing this to maybe be used on my mobile device, my phone, I can take advantage of things like the camera on my phone to take real-time pictures of things that are happening, of problems, of issues, of successes, and share them back with my team through this app by building an app that's available on my phone. I could use GPS to direct me from one location to another. So there's all different kinds of things that we can do with PowerApps of how it's optimized across mobile and tablet and desktop so that I can use it across anything. Now, when I say that, if I build an app that's targeted for my phone, I can use that same app if I'm working on a tablet, and I can use that same app if I'm working on a desktop. It will display across all of them. So you can kind of go in and play around with what you're looking to do, and you'll see a little bit more of that as we go through some of the solutions, and then we'll try to get to some demo here at the end where we'll show you a few solutions as we go through it. Again, all of this being built without the need to write code. And then they're available instantly when you publish them and share them with others. And that's across devices. So you could see a wide variety of devices here. And you can use that whether it's on the web, on your phone, on your tablet, and there's no app store required. I don't have to go out to the app store and download each of these apps. I simply download, if you're on iOS or Android, you would have the PowerApps app, and then from there, any app that's been shared to me would be included in that listing of PowerApps. So I can go through and share these out, and I can share them to people across my team. They'll be able to access them on their desktop as well. So one of the things with PowerApps is, again, much like Microsoft Flow, is having that extensibility right within SharePoint. So within modern lists and libraries, through that quick action toolbar there where we have new and quick edit, you'll see Flow and you'll see PowerApps. And this will continue to evolve as we continue to add deeper integrations into things like Office 365 and SharePoint Online. And so having that access, the same type of access to all of these different components, regardless of where I am, makes it just even easier for people to build and use PowerApps. So from here, I could create a Power App directly from a SharePoint list from a simple one click away, making it very easy to use these solutions. The same with Dynamics 365. So we're building deeper integrations into Dynamics 365. So one of the things that you may have noticed in your Office 365 is a Dynamics 365 tile appear. One of the things that we've done in this is kind of making this Dynamics 365 homepage the homepage for all business applications, regardless of where they're coming from, whether they're business applications from SharePoint, from Dynamics. So this is our home page for it, and you can see on the screen there where it has my apps. So these go across Dynamics and SharePoint and PowerApps. It's all different types of things together, so just giving me a centralized landing point for all of my business applications. So how does PowerApps work? So with PowerApps, it kind of goes out and we look at how this works. How do I build this together? PowerApps is truly, driven from data and connections and being able to write these line of business applications that are doing what we need in a quick and easy manner. So kind of looking at it to what are those connections? What is the data? Where are we getting that information in our app from? Where are we saving it to? How are we building them? Being able to create them without writing code is huge, and that is truly something that you can do today. Being able to use it on the web or across mobile and across the devices, and being able to share that and having it be in the cloud so that it's available wherever you are to people all across your organization. So I want to talk a little bit again about some of these real world scenarios that we have people using PowerApps in today, so that you can understand a few scenarios that we're seeing people be truly successful with. The first one I want to talk about is Genie. So Genie is a company that's a manufacturing company. They build forklifts. And so this particular Power App was developed with Ramp Group, who's a partner of Microsoft. And what you can see was one of the things that they were doing was they needed to be able to do quality control for their manufacturing process. And this happens on their manufacturing floor. And in the past, it was a very manual process, very paper-based. And so what they've done is they've designed a tablet application that allows them to do their quality control as the forklift is being built, station by station, to go through and inspect and check different information. So looking at the screenshot of the app here, you can see that when I get down to that particular step of where I am, I can see what I'm supposed to be looking for. I can take pictures of it. I can mark it as checked. I can save different information about this. And then I can see things like what was incomplete, what hasn't happened. So they were able to build fairly quickly this Power App for tablets to do this quality control process check in their manufacturing. And they're using it today, and they're actually really finding the increased speed of being able to do this process is helping them greatly. So another one that I want to talk about, and this is TransAlta. TransAlta is a energy company based they're in Canada for the primary part. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about their app is, one of their components is they have a series of wind turbines. And so when they approached our partner who helped them with this, one of the things that they were looking for was they have wind turbines across Canada, in North America, And these wind turbines are often in locations that are hard to reach. And when they get a notification that something is wrong with one of these different wind turbines, they often have to make a decision based off the economics of how much it would cost to send a team to go fix that. And there's a number of values that go into play around that. What's the problem that's being had? How long is it going to take the team to fix it? How many team members are there going to be? What is our impact economically was what they were trying to determine about making those decisions about when and how to send teams out to repair these wind turbines. So they were pulling information from a number of different systems, and you can see some of those listed on this screenshot on the right, that's kind of diagram. And then you can see the Power App on the left, that small kind of orange and black scenario, and that's where they plug in the different information, and it interacts with all of these different data sources to give them projections about what some of the economic impact would be if they decide to delay sending a team to repair that wind turbine for days or weeks or even months. So they could start to make more informed decisions by pulling data from multiple sources together and making projections around economics for dispatching people to repair these different wind turbines. So this is just a couple of examples of Power Apps that are being used, but I want to give you a few other use cases, things that you may be needing in your organization. So some of the ones that we see people building on a daily, weekly basis, some of the most common ones that I see are things like time off requests, vacation requests. So being able to build that quick and easy vacation request for my team to be able to say, hey, I need to take off this week, one that I'm doing. I need to take off in 24 days because I'm moving. I need to do that. How do I do that? Another fun one that I've seen people do is an employee onboarding process. So being able to do interviews and managing things like showing the people that are conducting the interviews resumes or information about the candidate and having them provide feedback back to my recruiters or to the managers through an employee onboarding app or interview process app. So kind of looking down beyond that to employee engagement is another big one. And this is one that at Microsoft, our HR has truly invested in. And so being able to do things like build Power Apps for employee engagement. So one of the ones that I like to talk about is at Microsoft on campus in Redmond. If you've ever visited, we have a large number of shuttles. Our campus is very large. So we kind of have what I jokingly refer to as our own Uber service with shuttles. And so before you would have to go online to book the shuttle, go up to the receptionist to book a shuttle. And now we have a Power App that we can use to go in from my phone wherever I am on campus, and I can book a shuttle. It'll come pick me up and take me from one side of campus to the other, from building to building. And so being able to build those really company-specific resource apps that engage with employees is really fantastic. So some of the other things that we see moving out of SharePoint and into some of the more dynamics and field related, but they all tie into Office 365 and SharePoint as well, sales and engagement apps. Quality control, much like what you saw with the Genie. Airplane cleaning, we've actually had an airline working with one of our partners to do cleaning assessments, to have staff go onto an airplane after the cleaning crew and use a Power App to take and do an assessment, how well was the plane cleaned, and being able to report that back. So there are any number of applications that you could create from this, and hopefully these few different samples give you a little bit of an idea of how you could be using this and what you could be building within your organizations. Some of these are combined with Microsoft Flow, some of them are combined from multiple systems of information. So there's lots of different ways that you can build these Power Apps and start to use them. Some other components with this this one is still coming soon, but it's something that we hope that you'll see very soon happen and be able to use this and utilize it across that, is being able to have reusable dynamic forms. So you can see down in the pop-up screen where it says new form and being able to select these different forms. A couple of these are there already. And you're using these as you're building Power Apps, but we hope to continue innovating and allowing us to add new form types that can be created within a Power App and building that out and building these form controls, especially as we continue down our successor to info path role. We find that this is truly important for people to be able to do that and be able to have where I can build one form out and have multiple people use it. And so templatized forms is still coming soon, but I wanted to kind of add it in here because I think it's something that a lot of people are wanting and could truly use. And so I like to show people we're working on some of these things. So it may not have everything to start out, but we're definitely working on it. So a lot of people ask me, especially as I move across the world, we work with Office 365, we have data that's stored in different places that have different privacy laws or different constrictions around what can be shown. How do I work with Power Apps and Microsoft Flow in these different scenarios? And so one of the things that I like to share with people is that we have what are called environments. And this is a little bit more IT pro admin component, but just something that it's nice to know that you can do this. So I can build a Power App in the USA environment, and I could use the same Power App across Canada, Australia, Europe, but as I do that, depending on what my IT pro has set up for those restrictions around data or sharing or systems or who I can connect with, that would change across those different environments. So we could have the same app feel with slightly different information displayed across those different environments depending on my privacy laws and privacy restrictions that are needed across those environments. And then taking it to that slightly deeper IT pro level, this is one that a lot of people ask. This is one that I know is evolving rapidly on the Microsoft side as we release new features for administering and being that administration around Power Apps and Flow all the time. We're hearing feedback from people about what they're missing, what they would like to do. And so here are some of the things that are in there now, and there's one that's starting to roll out that you'll start to see. But being able to administer for my environment as the administrator of my Office 365 tenant, I need to be able to manage what flows are happening, what Power Apps are there, what data they can connect to. Maybe I don't want people to go out and use Dropbox. So I have the ability as the administrator to say we're not going to allow connections to Dropbox. We're not going to allow connections to MailChimp. So we can set up how that data flow across my organization works. This is very similar to mail policies and data loss prevention policies, and this happens on the administration side. And so you can see just a few of those components that are there, and things are changing on this rapidly, and we do love to hear from people about what's missing here, so please let us know. But you can see just a few of those things in the admin center. One of the other components is being able to have that kind of app store, that kind of organizational gallery where we're building not just Microsoft Power Apps, but Microsoft Flow as well, and sharing them across my organization. So you can see my first component here in App Source is my organization. So being able to create and distribute an app across my entire organization to be able to say anyone that is marketing needs this app. And so you can see some of that information in there. So we have that org gallery, but what if I need to download an app that was created by a partner? I want to do some of that as well. App Source is our connection for that as well. So you can actually build and deploy apps into App Source as well that can be sold or purchased across components. And then what the cool thing about this is that we can avoid overloading our users because we can push key applications to users or put those applications in places that they can find them easily, and they don't have to search something like App Source to find them. It's just something that happens. They're shared with them. They show up for them from an organizational perspective, but this is something as well to have that specific template gallery or app gallery that's convenient to my organization. want to talk a little bit about how we do these, how we use them, and then I'm going to demo both PowerApps and Flow so that you can see it happening in real life. But one of the things that we found for Microsoft Flow sharing and collaboration is that we've added in co-authoring, which is a huge component for us with Microsoft Flow, because what we found was that within a team there may be two people who have different knowledge of what needs to happen in this. So now you have the ability to have co-authors who can create flows and work on flows together. It also allows us to add multiple people to it so that if for some reason someone leaves the company, we have the ability to have someone else on that team be able to work on that flow and manage that flow. Being able to publish to app source, again, like we just talked about on the last screen. And one of the other ones that's a really neat and unique component of Microsoft Flow is that I can actually create Microsoft Flows from my mobile device. So I can't demo that today because I'm on my desktop, but you can see in the screenshot here from our Microsoft Flow app, one of the things I can do is make use of those templates. I can actually create or edit a Microsoft Flow straight from my mobile device. So if I'm out in the field and somebody tells me I need to add a step to something that my team is using, I can do that straight from my mobile device, straight from my phone, and I can do that and share it out with everyone instantly, just the same as I could if I was at my desktop. So that really, some of that sharing and collaboration for Microsoft Flow has been really great. So how do I get Microsoft Flow? So I'm going to share a few things across here. One of the things that a lot of people don't know is that if you have Office 365 or even Dynamics 365, it's actually included for free with most subscriptions. So you probably already have Microsoft Flow. You may already be using Microsoft Flow and you just don't know. We also have a version of Flow that is free. And then we have two different premium versions of Microsoft Flow, our Plan 1 and our Plan 2. And you can see the differences across these. Truly is the ability to how many flows I can utilize in a month. This is a monthly kind of idea. You can combine any number of these plans across the screen to be something within an organization. Not every user has to have Flow Plan 2. We can have a combination. So it's kind of this nice combination build-up. As we look at that, one of the things that you'll see is that flow run usage quota. And this confuses a lot of people, but what you should understand is that flow run quota accrues at the tenant level. So like I said, if you have multiple versions of that across it, you get different numbers of this. It's not each person individually can only run that. It's how many for your entire tenant. And please, like I said, this does get a little confusing, and if you have specific questions, my contact information was in the front of this presentation. I'm always happy to help people understand our pricing a little bit better. And looking at PowerApps, PowerApps is the other component that we've been talking about. Again, if you have Office 365 or Dynamics 365 subscriptions, you probably already have PowerApps. It is included across most subscription levels already. But then we also have two premium offerings around PowerApps. These also include Microsoft Flow capabilities. And you can see what some of those capabilities are in the bottom boxes across this. We like to think of this as our creator and our user plans. So P2 is our plan if you are wanting to use premium connectors, things like connections to Salesforce, or make use of our common data service, and you want to build apps using that. The people that are building those apps need our P2 plan. If you are a person that needs to run or interact with an app using one of those premium connectors or the common data service, that user needs a P1. So it's a maker and a user type plan. Okay? So I want to talk about a couple of things that are combined knowledge specific, and then I'm going to jump over into some demo and show you some fun demos around PowerApps and Flow. So with Combined Knowledge, who's hosting our webinar today, one of the great services that they offer is a new component called Training Plus. And Training Plus is a service that's Azure hosted that's right within your Office 365 subscription. You don't have to leave it to get that on-demand training, videos, content about the most recent updates in Office 365, and fun to announce in here that coming soon we'll be training for PowerApps and Microsoft Flow. Find out more information about that at 365trainingplus.com. Then kind of going along with that, Combined Knowledge is also developing a PowerApps and Microsoft Flow training course, and you can see a little bit more information about that here. So with that, I am going to do a little bit of demo. So let's look at where we find PowerApps and Flow. I'm just going to confirm that I'm still sharing my screen, which I am. So here is the Office 365 portal launch page. And so in this portal launch page, you can see we have a tile for PowerApps and we have a tile for Microsoft Flow right away. So I'm going to jump into Microsoft Flow first. That's the one we talked about first. So when I go to Microsoft Flow, I click on that tile. This is kind of my landing page for Microsoft Flow. And you can see all of the different flows that I've developed. You can see team flows. You can see templates. So if I wanted to create from a template, I can look at all of the different templates that are out there. There's quite a lot. I tell people all the time I would recommend that you narrow your search by using the search box. So I'm going to look for all the ones that interact with Twitter. And so in looking at this, you can see number of templates that have been created that have Twitter as one of the steps in there. So I'm going to jump back to My Flows. We're going to take a look at one that's out there that we can look at. We're going to look at this one here that's creating dynamics leads based on tweets. And then we're going to edit this by making use of our little pencil here. So if we click on that, it takes me to this Microsoft Flow, and you can see it's very visual. I'm looking for when a new tweet appears. The search that I am conducting is for someone to include the text Contoso Cam in their tweet. Then from there, I'm going to find out who tweeted that. So I want to get the user information from Twitter of who it was tweeted by. And then from there, I'm going to create a new record in Dynamics, and I'm going to hope that my Dynamics feed is going to load here. It is. So what I'm doing there in Dynamics, I'm selecting where I want it, what do I want it to populate, and then I'm pulling that information in. But maybe this isn't enough for me. Maybe I need to get an email when this happens. So I want to add an action. So I hit New Step, and then I hit Add an Action. So once I do that, you'll see it pops up. What do I want to do? Well, I want to send an email. So I'm using Outlook for Office 365. So I'm going to go to Outlook for Office 365 because that's the service. And you'll see what it's going to give me different options. Do I want to create a contact, create an event? For in this particular case, I want to send an email. So I'm going to click Send an Email. And then it provides me with that information that I need to fill out. So who do I want to send this to? So I'm going to send it to myself. I don't know why I just typed the wrong email address. I'd call it a Monday, but it's not. So that's who I want to send the email to. Now, what do I want to send them? So you can see as I change to the subject, it gives me suggestions in that dynamic content box on the side. So I could say a new record was created for, and then I can say I want it to be that topic from that record. Then as I come in, that's my subject line. As I come into my body of my email, I can add more information, right? And so I can add more information in here. I want to say a tweet from this username. I want to add the topic. I can pull that different information, and I'm building that email based off the content that I have. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and hit Save. It's going to validate my flow, make sure there's no errors. You can see it says my flow was updated, and then I can click Done to finish. I'm going to have to move this over because I can't see Done. So there, I'm clicked Done. Now I'm finished with that. So now my flow is updated. It's available to all the people that are using it. So if someone happened to tweet it out something with Contoso Cam, I would not only get a Dynamics lead created, but I would get an email notification that that had happened as well. So it's really easy, fun, powerful way to build visual business process automations. Let's jump quickly into PowerApps so that we can get a little quick view into PowerApps. So when I click on my PowerApps tab, it takes me to this web view of PowerApps. And within here, you can see a number of different things, apps that are in existence. I can look at my connections, different information here. If I go to apps, it'll load up all the different apps that I have available. The one that I'm going to show you today is my Contoso restocking app. And one of the things about this app, it's a pretty fun app. We actually built with a partner this app for Mars Beverage in Europe. And what they were doing is they were wanting to restock beverage machines that had run out of different services. So for this particular one, we've rebuilt this as a Contoso app. So I'm Contoso, I'm a printer company. So you can see here is my screen, number of templates available to start out with. I'm going to open an app, and I'm going to open my Contoso restocking app. I'm going to cross my fingers that my preload failed. So we're going to cross our fingers that live demo is going to work. I do want to encourage you, if you have questions, there's a question chat box over there. I will stick around for a few minutes after and answer questions if you have them. If not, you can always tweet me questions, and I'll pay attention to Twitter today and answer some more of your questions. So kind of looking this, it loads up. This is PowerApps Studio on the web, so you can see, again, it's that kind of very familiar experience. This is my app that's been built. Here are my different screens for my app of building this out, being able to edit and pull that information in. All of this information is coming from a few different locations, but being able to see how I can build that out, how I can change these fields out. So from that, I'm going to move this over for just a second so that I can hit run. Right, I need to go back to the beginning to hit run so that you can see this app running from start to finish. Excuse me. I have a screen blocking on my side here, so I'll expand it back out once I get it running. There we go. So here's my load screen. Once my app loads up, this would be my home screen for this particular app. So I'm a delivery driver. I'm going out to restock, in this case, printer services. I get some information. What's the weather today? How many deliveries do I have to make? I hit get started. I'm at my warehouse. I need to select and load my truck. So that's what this is. And you can see I can go through and check box all of my supplies so that I load my truck, put all of these different supplies that are needed for the day on my truck. Once I select all of those, I hit loading complete. It now takes me to, okay, you're going to leave the warehouse, you're going to go first to the Graphic Design Institute, and then here are your upcoming destinations. So once I get there, if I was on my mobile device, I can make use of GPS, and I could click on the address, and it would show me the address and the route. I'm going to say I've arrived. Here's my different information. I can go through and say I have completed these. I've pulled this information off my truck to load it into the building. And then now I'm in here and I can go through and add this information. And I can say, here is what I have, but maybe I need to add some information, give some comments. If I click on my comment box, oh, I can see my team edited my app and broke it. But if I click on this comment box, it would allow me to input things. I'll have to fix that before my next demo. This is a shared tenant by me and all of my team, so sometimes they make edits. I could have text boxes to input information around that, take pictures, things like that. So once I'm complete, simply check all of those and hit complete. And then now you'll see my service destination changed to my upcoming destinations edited as well. So all of this being powered by data sources, kind of some of these real world scenarios about how to build and use a Power App. And this is a pretty fantastic little Power App that could be used in a number of different scenarios and fairly easy to build. So from there, that kind of brings us to the end of our time today. I appreciate you all attending. A few things to note. This presentation has been recorded, and you'll be able to access that at the link here on the screen. And then something to note as well, if you are curious, if you have an Office 365 subscription and you want to explore PowerApps or Microsoft Flow a little bit more, we recently launched a new community plan which allows you to have an environment specific to you within your area where you can play around with all of those premium features of PowerApps and Microsoft Flow. And so it's just something kind of fun there, and you can find that at powerapps.microsoft.com/community plan. I hope you enjoyed. Again, I'll stick around for a couple minutes and answer questions, or I'll pay attention to Twitter and answer questions there today. I'm CatPaint1 on Twitter. Thank you so much.